How great will the great meeting be?
It'll be fantastic. It'll be larger than life.
Awesome.
The great meeting is not necessarily something we're going to do regularly. We're going to talk about that at the end. It's simply a question of we have created a lot of experiments. And those experiments come out of our frustration with the current processes of the current institutions. And so this is just another experiment. That's all it is. And it's not necessarily to make decisions. It's definitely not to dole out money. But it's just another experiment in direct democracy.
So the Great Convention was basically the 1% figuring out how they were going to manipulate the government to, you know, bring forth their will. So we made a new great meeting, for the 99% to take back that great meeting and to figure out how to speak with each other and communicate, to talk about the things that we want to change in the world and the change that we want to see. Union Square has historically been a place where people who didn't have voices, who were repressed, came to gather together. It makes sense to be here. It has a lot of history of bringing people together to rise up as one.
We want to do breakouts of maybe 6
to 8
people that would meet for about a half hour, an hour, depending upon if we do the round robin. And the 2 questions would be, first of all, what is the world we see that we live in? What is the world that each of us thinks that we live in? Because we all conceptualize it differently. We conceptualize why we occupy, or why we have a problem with Wall Street, or why we want the commons differently. So what is the world we understand that we live in, and how do we get to the world that we want to get to? Then we would like to couple that with a slightly more personal question of what is each of us doing that is contributing to create the world we want to see, or maintaining the world that we don't want to see that we currently live in.
Debt slavery, advertising culture, where people are led to believe, are told to believe that they are their money, their possessions, their debt, their loans. Transphobia, we live in a system that's gender binary, where male and female are the only acceptable choices, and that's kind of fucked up.
I was saying, I think that we live in a world of great abundance, but that the organization and distribution of our natural resources and our human resources are completely skewed for a variety of reasons, but that the building blocks are present and that our intellectual capacities and our human capacities are infinite, so that while there are definitely finite resources in this world, there's always the ability to overcome if those kind of mental abilities are allowed to flourish, that corporate interests don't get in the way or people's personal interests. So when I look around, I see a world that is absolutely abundant and overflowing with resources, and I just wish that I could sometimes get my hands on them.
Because they only do what you want.
I think we live in an economy that's based off of war, ugly energy production that's destroying our environment that we live in, and this massive prison industrial complex that's really racist and really oppressive and really unjust.
Lately I've been just thinking a lot about how we're all slaves to this machine that demands our energy, and it requires our energy to keep running.
I think we live in the belly of the most violent and oppressive empire the world has ever seen, and it succeeds largely by atomizing us, destroying social movements abroad, destroying social movements at home, giving us this false sense of hopelessness that we all live with.
Long term, we live in a non-sustainable world, and
I actually want to add to that, if possible. I mean, I think that like the fact that everybody works so much, the amount of labor that we do just goes up every year, and the insecurity that people have. I mean, that's not an economic thing. I think that that's a political thing. That, you know, it's not actually more efficient to like keep people insecure and working all the time. In a way, it's just, I think it's like destroying the environment. It's destroying the even destroying capitalism. There's a million different means that are used against us to keep us so preoccupied and so insecure we can't look around us and have the conversations that we're having right now. That's the most important thing for us, to them. That, we live in a world where we're never supposed to do this.
Well, okay. The world we live under is dominated or defined by capitalism. What is the world we want to see? A world which moves beyond capitalism. Now on to the third question, which seems as nobody said anything about. How do we get there? Well, okay. I sort of been feeling this for a long time, and I thought Occupy was very successfully advancing it. Answer, inflicting as much damage as possible on the capitalist system. The question is, how do we inflict that damage? And that's the $64,000 question, which, I spend a lot of time thinking about, and I'm sure you do too, and I'd be willing to participate in any initiative that advances that goal.
Yeah. What is the next question?
Number 2, what do we want to see?
What do we want to see?
Yay.